Scientists have found that the average human brain now contains enough plastic to make a small spoon. Not metaphorically, literally. Plastic particles have been found inside human brain tissue, and the system your brain relies on to clean itself, a system that works while you sleep, is being damaged by the same plastic that's already inside you. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly where these particles are coming from, and most of them are in your kitchen and your bedroom right now. I also give you practical, affordable swaps for every single one. My name is Paweł, most English speakers call me Pav. This channel is called Vitality Foundations, and everything I cover here is grounded in science and kept as practical and budget-friendly as possible. A few months ago, I listened to a podcast with Dr. Yvonne Burkhardt, a PDH toxicologist, and it changed the way I look at lots of everyday objects. After listening to it, I went around my home and replaced a number of things I had been using for years without a second thought. I also have a 9-year-old son, and when you start understanding what nanoplastics actually do inside the body, you look at the plastic cups and containers your child uses every day very differently. This video is the first in a series called Hidden Toxins. Each episode covers a different category of environmental exposure and what you can realistically do about it. Before we get into the sources, let me briefly explain what's actually happening inside your body. Your brain has its own waste clearance system called the glymphatic system. It works a bit like a dishwasher. It flushes fluid through the brain to wash out toxic waste products that accumulate during the day. It is most active during deep sleep. This is one of the reasons quality sleep matters so much. Your brain is literally cleaning itself while you rest. Now, here's where nanoplastics become a serious problem. A 2024 study found that nanoplastics don't just bypass this system, they actively damage it. They disrupt the glymphatic system ability to function. So you have a double problem. Plastic particles are getting into the brain, and they're breaking the very mechanism the brain uses to clear waste. This isn't a future risk. Researchers have already detected nanoplastics in human brain tissue. One study found that human brains contain significantly more plastic than other organs, and that concentrations have been increasing year on year. So the question isn't whether you have nanoplastics in your body. You almost certainly do, as does every person alive today. The question is how to reduce the ongoing exposure from the sources you can actually control. Let's go through them one by one. Source 1. Plastic water bottles. Let's start with the most obvious one. A single liter of water from a plastic bottle has been found to contain hundreds of thousands of nanoplastic particles, and that number increases with heat, UV light, and physical compression. So if you ever left a plastic bottle in a warm car and then drank from it, or squeeze it as you drink, you're accelerating the release. So what do you do about it? Switch to a glass or stainless steel reusable bottle. A decent stainless steel bottle costs very little and lasts for years. It's one of the most cost-effective swaps on this entire list. Source 2. Plastic kettle. This one surprises people. Most homes have a plastic kettle, and boiling water is one of the most aggressive triggers for nanoplastic release. You're boiling water inside a plastic container multiple times a day, every day. The heat alone is enough to accelerate plastic breakdown a lot. and most people do it first thing in the morning, every single morning. Here's what you do about it. Switch to a stainless steel or glass kettle. They're widely available and not much more expensive than a plastic one, and you only buy it once. Source free. Teabags. Many conventional teabags are sealed with a heat-resistant plastic used to hold the bag together. When you pour boiling water over them, billions of particles are released directly into your cup. Studies have found that a single plastic teabag releases approximately 11 billion microplastic and 3 billion nanoplastic particles per cup. Combined with a plastic kettle, your morning cup of tea could be one of your highest single daily exposures to nanoplastic. Here's what you do about it. Switch to loose leaf tea with a stainless steel infuser, or look for paper-only tea bags. Some brands now specify plastic-free on the packaging, so it's worth checking. Source 4. Plastic chopping boards. This one is genuinely shocking when you see the numbers. Research has found that plastic chopping boards shed hundreds of thousands of microplastic particles every time you cut on them. And the softer the plastic, the worse it is. Every knife stroke is scraping tiny particles directly into your food. Here's what you do about it. And this is worth thinking through properly because different boards work better for different jobs. For vegetables, fruit, bread and cheese, wooden or bamboo boards are a great choice. Affordable, widely available, and they have some natural antimicrobial properties. For raw meat and fish, stainless steel is actually the better solution. It's non-porous, which makes it much easier to sanitize properly and reduces the risk of bacteria like salmonella. Glass boards also exist and are easy to clean, but both glass and metal are harder on knives' edges, so bear that in mind. The main thing is to move away from plastic entirely. Source 5. Plastic food containers. This is a two-part problem: storage and heating, and both matter. Even without heat, plastic containers leach particles into food, particularly into fatty foods like meat, cheese, and leftovers with oil. The longer food sits in plastic, the greater the exposure. Research has found that storing food in plastic containers in the fridge for extended periods can release millions to billions of nanoplastic particles into the food. So the storage itself is already a problem before you even thought about heating. Microwaving in plastic makes it much worse. Studies have found that microwaving food in plastic containers releases billions of nanoplastic particles into the food in a matter of minutes. Heat is the key accelerant. It causes the plastic to break down and shed particles at a much higher rate than at room temperature. Here's what you do about it. Switch to glass or ceramic containers for both storing and heating food. Transfer food out of plastic before microwaving, even onto a ceramic plate. If you're replacing containers gradually, start with the ones you use for fatty foods and the ones that go into the microwave. Those are your highest priority. Source 6. Plastic kitchen utensils. Plastic spatulas, spoons and ladles release particles every time you use them. And heat makes it a lot worse. The combination of heat and friction, like stirring and scraping, accelerates breakdown a lot. And if your spatula has changed color or shows scratches and wear, that's the plastic breaking down. Those particles have been going into your food. But there is additional problem specific to black plastic utensils that most people have never heard of. A 2024 study published in the journal Hemisphere found that many black plastic kitchen utensils are made from recycled electronics, televisions, computers, and other devices. And those electronics contain flame retardant chemicals that are now ending up in your kitchen. The study found flame retardants in 85% of the black plastic items tested, including spatulas and slotted spoons. These are chemicals linked to hormone disruption, thyroid dysfunction, and cancer, and heat accelerates their release directly into food. Here's what you do about it. Switch to wooden, bamboo, or stainless steel utensils. A basic set is inexpensive and will last far longer than plastic alternatives. If you have black plastic utensils right now, those are the first ones to replace. Source 7. Synthetic bedding. This is one that most people never think about, and it connects directly to the glymphatic system we talked about at the start. Almost everything in your bed is a potential source. Synthetic duvets and pillows, both the filling inside and the fabric covering them, shed nanoplastic particles all the time. So do your sheets, if they polyester or a polyester blend. All of it sheds into the air around you and directly onto your skin. You spend 7 to 8 hours in bed every night. That's 7 to 8 hours of direct, close-range exposure to synthetic fibers, right at the time when your brain's clearing system is supposed to be most active. You're potentially inhaling particles at the very moment your body is trying to clear them. Here's what you do about it. Switch to natural fiber bedding. Cotton, linen, and wool don't shed synthetic particles. You don't need to replace everything at once. Start with your sheets and pillowcase, since those are in direct contact with your skin all night. That's the highest priority and usually the cheapest to replace. For the duvet and pillow filling, natural alternatives exist. Down, wool, and cotton are all widely available. They tend to cost more than synthetic versions, so if budget is a concern, replace them when your current ones wear out rather than throwing them away immediately. Source 8. Paper receipts. This one surprises almost everyone. Paper receipts are coated with BPA, the same endocrine disrupting chemical found in plastics, and it absorbs through the skin within seconds of handling. Receipts are one of the most common sources of direct skin contact with BPA in everyday life, and the science on BPA itself is concerning. A study published in Environmental Health Perspectives found a significant association between BPA exposure and a 50% reduction in testosterone levels in adolescent boys. This was a single observational study rather than a controlled trial, so causation hasn't been established, but the association is strong enough to take seriously. Wet hands or hands with any lotion on them absorbs BPA through receipts much faster. And BPA-free receipts often use BPS instead, a chemical with a very similar profile. Here's what you do about it. Decline paper receipts where possible and opt for digital. If you handle receipts regularly for work, don't handle them longer than you need to and wash your hands afterwards. And never put receipts in the same bag as food. Source 9. Takeaway containers and cups. Disposable coffee cups look like paper, but they are lined with polyethanol plastic on the inside. Without that lining, they absorb liquid immediately. Studies have found that a hot drink in a disposable cup can result in tens of thousands of plastic particles per cup, with heat being the key factor. The hotter the drink and the longer it sits, the more particles are released. The same applies to takeaway food containers, particularly when hot food is placed directly into them. Here's what you do about it. Use a reusable cup for hot drinks. Most coffee shops now accept them. For takeaways, transfer food to a plate or ceramic bowl as soon as you can, rather than eating directly from the container. Source 10. Canned food. Most tin cans are lined on the inside with a coating that contains BPA or BPA substitutes. This lining is there to prevent the metal from reacting with the food, but it comes with its own problem. Acidic foods like tomatoes, citrus, and pickles pull more of those chemicals into the food than neutral food. The heat involved in the canning process also accelerates migration. Here's what you do about it. Where possible, choose fresh, frozen, or food in glass jars. This matters most for things you cooked with regularly. Tin tomatoes in particular are worth swapping to jarred or fresh, since they both acidic and often used in large quantities. Source 11. Chewing gum. Most people don't know that the base of modern chewing gum is synthetic plastic, specifically polyvinyl acetate and other polymers. You are literally chewing plastic and swallowing particles with every piece. It's a smaller source compared to some others on the list, but it's worth knowing, particularly if you chew regularly. Here's what you do about it. Look for natural gum made for chicle, which is plant-based alternative. It's available online and at health food stores. Source 12. Sea salt and table salt. Nanoplastics have been found in virtually all commercially available salt. Sea salt, rock salt, and table salt alike. The ocean and water sources from which salt is derived are contaminated, and that contamination ends up in the final product. This is one of the unavoidable exposures, but it's worth knowing it's there. There is no perfect swap here, but rock salt from inland sources tends to test lower for plastic contamination than sea salt. Use salt in reasonable quantities rather than eliminating it. Salt itself is not the enemy. Okay, so let me quickly run through all alternatives again. Glass or stainless steel water bottle. Stainless steel or glass kettle. Loose leaf tea or plastic-free tea bags. The right chopping board for the job. Bamboo or wood for most things. Stainless steel for raw meat. Glass or ceramic containers for storage and heating, and never microwaving plastic. Wooden or stainless steel kitchen utensils, and if you have black plastic ones, replace those first. Natural fiber bedding. Start with the pillowcase. Decline paper receipts where you can. A reusable cup for hot drinks, glass jar for fresh alternatives to canned tomatoes and acidic foods. And if you chew gum regularly, look for a chicle-based alternative. None of these changes are expensive. Most of them you can make gradually. Replace things as they wear out, rather than throwing everything away at once. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is reducing your ongoing exposure from the sources you can realistically control. Before I go, a quick note. Everything in this video is based on published scientific research, and I link the key studies in the description. I'm not a doctor or medical professional, and nothing here is medical advice. If you found this useful, subscribing genuinely helps the channel grow. And if there's a topic you would like me to cover, drop it in the comments. In the next episode of Hidden Toxins, we're looking at the personal care products most people use every single day, and the chemicals hiding inside them behind a single word on the label. I'll see you there.